Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Budget Magic. So while we're waiting for Ixalan to release, to head back to Standard, this week we're heading to Modern for a deck that looks a little bit janky, but is actually super good. I was so impressed this deck just beats people. So the name is a little tricky. I finally ended up calling it Favorable Winds because that's probably the best name for it. We are kind of built around the enchantment Favorable Winds, but at various times I was like mono blue aggro. I really wanted to call it blue burn because I think we're playing all the blue burn spells legal in Modern. That is only one, but I think I would still be within my naming rights to call it blue burn, and that's a pretty catchy name. Anyway, we went with Favorable Winds, and as you can see, $81 in the paper world, 25 ticks on Magic Online, a super sweet price for a pretty competitive Modern deck. A quick reminder before we break down Favorable Winds for Modern. If you enjoy this deck and you enjoy Budget Magic in general, it would be spectacular of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk Favorable Winds, and this is basically a mono blue flying aggro deck. We are all in as aggressive as possible, and the two key cards of this deck, as weird as it sounds, are Judge's Familiar and Mausoleum Wanderer. So what our deck really wants to do is play a bunch of 1-drops, all of them with flying, pump them up, get in damage, finish the game off with our blue burn. The reason that Judge's Familiar and Mausoleum Wanderer in specific are so good is they're counterspells while also being those aggressive creatures. They're like goblin guides that are also force spikes. So they give us so much weird free value where our opponent goes to try to sweep our board. We can sack one of our creatures to counter it, keep all our other stuff alive. They go to Collected Company, they go to All Is Dust, whatever big horrible instant or sorcery they're casting, these creatures either deal with it directly or at the very least make our opponent play way off curve to try to resolve their spell. So the idea is we're going to slam these on turn 1, start beating down with them, and then as we need to, we can use them as kind of these weird tempo-y force spikes to prevent our opponent from killing our stuff, interacting with our stuff, and hopefully win the game that way. Mausoleum Wanderer in specific is awesome. While we're not a spirit deck, I think it's the only spirit in our deck actually, it gets bigger from some of our other effects, our various lords, our Favorable Winds. So at times, it's just almost hard countering instants or sorceries. Pay 2, pay 3, it becomes like a mana leak almost, which makes it really, really good. While Judge's Familiar and Mausoleum Wanderer are our best 1-drops, we have a couple more, and these ones might look a little janky, but we really just want to make sure that we go 1-drop turn 1, powerful play on turn 2 into 1-drop on turn 3 and get that fast clock going. So Fairy Miscreant, just a 1/1 flyer for 1, though it sometimes rarely does draw us an extra card if we happen to have a second copy. And then Jace's Phantasm, this is my favorite troll card in the deck because most of the time it's just a 1/1 flyer, but then every once in a while we just randomly beat a deck like Dredge that puts 10 cards in their graveyard, it becomes massive and we beat our opponent down really quickly. So we get these free wins in really strange matchups thanks to Jace's Phantasm. The namesake card of the deck is Favorable Winds, and this is really important because it turns all of our 1/1s into real threats. 1/1 flyers take a while to get the game done, even if we have multiples of them. But when our flyers become 2/2s, or maybe we get another Favorable Winds and they're 3/3s, it actually becomes a super quick clock that closes out the game really quickly. And then we also have Grand Architect, which is basically a backup Favorable Winds, another way to pump up our blue creatures, just a blue creature lord. It's not great. I wish it had flying itself to benefit from Favorable Winds, but it's still, if we think of it as just another Favorable Winds, it does a pretty good job pumping up our team. The other sweet synergy with Grand Architect is it can help us accelerate out our Smugglers Chopper because we can tap it for artifact mana. Smugglers Chopper is really the card that makes our deck work. So while all of our 1/1 flyers are awesome, force spiking things is great, Smugglers Chopper is just so above the curve. It helps us loot away our dead draws, find more action when we need it to. It gets really big thanks to our Favorable Winds. As a 4/4, it dodges Lightning Bolt, which is really nice, and we can use Grand Architect to either cast it or to make it a blue creature to make it even bigger. So Smuggler's Copter is just excellent in this deck. It's so good. It's the card we always want a copy of in our opening hand because games go so much easier and so much smoother when we're attacking with a Smuggler's Copter. The rest of the deck, we have Mana Leak and Vapor Snag. So Mana Leak, just a way to kind of stay alive against more combo-y type decks, spell-based decks, be able to counter something. And Vapor Snag, really good against creature-based decks, just kind of tempo our opponent out by bouncing their thing, also getting a bit of damage. The card I'm most excited about, though, is Psionic Blast. The thing about Psionic Blast, and it's basically just a blue char, 4 damage to our opponent, 2 damage to us, whatever. It's a blue burn spell that deals 4 damage. Great at closing out the game, and the sweetest part is no one ever suspects Psionic Blast. It comes out of right field, no one sees it coming, and then all of a sudden, we just get in a bunch of flyer damage, end of our opponent's turn, 3 mana, 4 your face, untap, 4 your face again with Psionic Blast, and our opponent's dead. Like, people don't expect mono blue decks to have this kind of reach. And not only is this reach, it's really on curve. 4 damage is a lot of damage for 3 mana. That's a playable amount of damage, even for a mono red deck. So to have not just a burn spell, but a really powerful burn spell in our mono blue deck is just such a big deal. And it gets us so many free wins because people have no idea that it's coming. They think they're safe from our creature damage. And then all of a sudden, Psionic Blast to the face finishes them off. The other key part of the deck is the mana base, and the hidden all-star is Contested Warzone. This card is so good in our deck. So basically, it's a really risky land because if our opponent damages us, they gain control of our Contested Warzone. It does add mana, so that's fine. The big thing is we pay 1 and tap it, and we get to give all of our attacking creatures +1/+0 until end of turn. So it often comes down and is just +3, +4, +5 damage with all of our 1/1 flyers, and it's a way we just steal games that we really don't have any business winning. We only have 2 of them because it is risky to get Contested Warzone flooded because our opponent can steal them and then we lose a land, and that's very annoying. But the ability to just drop this, it's kind of like Psionic Blast. People don't expect it, throws off the combat math, and all of a sudden we win. Fairy Conclave gives us a good creature land. It benefits from our favorable wins. It gets pumped by our Grand Architect. So a really reasonable creature land in our deck. Ghost Quarter for Tron decks, and then some islands just to cast our stuff. As far as the sideboard, Negates come in against combo and control. Spreading Seas come in to deal with Tron primarily and keep them off Tron. Relic to hate on graveyards against Dredge and Snapcaster decks. Plus it cycles, so it's really easy to bring in a lot of matchups. Dismember to kill bigger things and get rid of things permanently that Vapor Snag really can't handle. And then, of course, a couple of Aethersphere Harvesters, which I kind of wish were in the sideboard. I actually never bring them in. It seemed like a sweet way to gain a bit of life, kind of be our weird vehicle kitchen finks. But in the end, I just never actually end up siding them in, so it's probably not completely necessary. And that's favorable wins for Modern, and that's our Budget Magic deck for this week. So, I know this deck probably doesn't look like much on paper. 16 Flying Men, essentially, is the foundation of the deck, but it's actually way better. Once you start playing it and seeing how powerful it is, it's way better than it looks. The Judge's Familiar in Mausoleum Wander package is really strong. That helps us win so many games. Favorable Wins is a super good anthem in our deck. Smugglers Chopper is probably one of the more underrated cards in Modern. The card is just insane, and then I'm just in love with Psionic Blast. That is our Mana Tithe, the gotcha card that no one sees coming, along with Contested Warzone, but primarily Psionic Blast, and we get so many wins against unsuspecting opponents by just throwing 4 damage at their face in our mono blue deck. So the deck is surprisingly fun. It is surprisingly competitive. I really love this deck. It's really a blast to play, really cheap. I can't really say much bad about it. So anyway, let's get to the video so you can see what I'm talking about. Anyway, thanks you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.